Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Where's My Sock? I'm your host, Mr. E, and today we're going to go over the topic of advanced audio techniques and marketing. Because there's a moment that hits a lot of people after they've made a few episodes. You can record, you can edit, and you can make something feel listenable. You're feeling good about your process. You're finally getting in your groove. And you start noticing the difference. Not the difference between good and bad, but the difference between this works and this feels finished. Inevitably, around that same time, you start wondering, can people find my episodes? Are they even really listening? So when that question arises, you have two piles in front of you. First pile is cleaning up your audio, polishing it, right? And that's when you're going to use things like a limiter, little advanced EQs, making sure your loudness is consistent. And this matters because that almost finished zone is a weird zone to be in. And if the voice mostly sounds clean, but occasionally it gets sharp, that sharp moment becomes the only thing that you notice. If the mix becomes mostly balanced, but the music is starting to overstep just one sentence, you can't get that sentence out of your mind and you start praying that people actually heard you. And if your loudness feels different from episode to episode, your audience ends up riding the volume. And nobody likes doing that. Now, the second pile is your visibility. That's when you're focusing on your hosting platform, making sure you're using the right SEOs for search engines or even promotions on social media. If your episode exists, but the title doesn't explain it, the description doesn't help. And if your post on social media is just a link, you can't be surprised when it disappears and people's scrolling. So when you're faced with these two piles, don't think to yourself you need to be doing more. The goal here is to do the right finishing moves and then release it in a way that makes the episode understandable before anyone presses play. Finish the audio so it plays comfortably, then describe it so people can find it. Now, let's talk about this concept a little bit more, right? When you're at this point in your podcast journey, it's basically two stages. Stage one is the finishing stage for your audio. This is where you handle the problems that are subtle, occasional, and easy to miss until you hear the final mix. That's when you're going to actually start applying those things we were talking about earlier, advanced EQs, limiters, all that kind of stuff. Because you're going to want to use advanced EQs for precision tone control, limiters for a safety ceiling, and to handle those peaks a little bit better on your audio files. Making sure that if you do use music in your podcast, it isn't overpowering the voice. Now that brings us over to stage two. Stage two is the release stage, your visibility. This is where you move from I have an episode to people can find my episode. That's when you're going to focus on what hosting platform you're using and ensuring that your titles and descriptions are focused around the SEOs so that search engines can better grab onto your episode. And again, with the social medias, you got to give people more than just the link. You have to tell them, you have to give them a reason that they want to click on your link to find out more. So instead of treating this as two separate worlds, on this episode, we're going to connect them all in one pipeline. Mixing your episode, loudness check, exporting it, your hosting platform, the metadata, and finally, sharing your episodes. Your audio is what people experience. Your words are how people are going to find it. Now, let's develop a method for all this, right? step by step, let's break it down. Step 1, do a finished listen before you touch anything. So you're going to want to put on some headphones and you're going to want to listen like a listener and not an editor. And what that means is imagine your show just like any other show you would listen to. And as you're listening, just kind of take a mental note or even literally write it down of the things that you notice that are poking out. The few things that I would pay attention to are if your voice gets sharp sometimes during certain words. Secondly, pay attention to your peaks, like when you're laughing or sudden emphasis on words. Does it jump out uncomfortably or does it go smooth? Third, your music should never compete with your speech. Your music should never compete with your speech. So always make sure you got that in check. And finally, your overall loudness needs to feel consistent, episode to episode. And outside of that, it should be comparable to other podcasts out there too. It's important that you do this step because it's going to keep you honest in this podcast game. You're looking to name the problem, then pick the tool that'll help you solve that problem. Step 2, advanced EQs for those only sometime problems. Your basic EQs are great for issues that are constant, like a steady rumble or a hum. Advanced EQs come in when the issue is only occasional. So instead of chopping the entire episode because one S word came out a little too harsh, you treat that one moment that it spiked. Rather than cutting up a big chunk of the mids because your phrase sounds boxy, you treat the boxy moment. This is where people usually use things like dynamic EQ or de-essing. Now, I'm not saying you got to memorize things and know exactly what buttons to use. That's what you're doing your own research for. And I'm here to help a little bit. So, if you find yourself in a place that you don't know what to use, research. But overall, what I'm saying here is don't permanently change your voice to fix a problem that only shows up occasionally. And the way you can keep this from getting a little too weird and not forever tweaking things is make small moves and listen after every change. Step 3, mix voice and music like they have two different jobs. When there's music under speech, you're not mixing two equal things. You're mixing a leader and a supporter. The voice carries the meaning. The music carries the mood. So the question isn't, is the music quiet? The question is, are the words easy to understand without effort? If the words feel a little harder to follow, the music has to move out of the way. That can happen through volume automation, ducking, choosing less busy music, or shaping music so it doesn't live right on top of the speech range. There's no fancy requirements, just a simple rule. If the listener has to work to understand the words, the music is too present. Step 4, use a limiter like a seatbelt. A limiter is not there to do the whole job of mixing. It's there to prevent ugly surprises. So put it at the end as a safety ceiling, especially if your recording has moments that jump, like those laughters and emphasis I was talking about. When a limiter is working too hard, you'll hear it. The audio can feel flattened or pinned, so the goal is not to smash everything into the ceiling. The goal is to catch the occasional peak so you don't clip. Keep this in mind while you're mixing your episodes. Compression smooths your audio. Limiting stops. Step 5, do a loudness reality check. This is where the meter looks fine can turn into, why is this so quiet in my car? Loudness standards are about perceived level over time, not just a simple spike. At this stage, you're asking, does the episode feel consistent? Consistent with itself? Consistent with previous episodes? And not wildly different from other shows people listen to? You don't have to make this complicated on day one. The first win is simply understanding the target. Target is Not just no clipping, but comfortable and consistent listenability. Step 6. Export the deliverable like the final package. At this point, your mix is stable. Now you export. And remember, you want to work in the project and deliver the export. So while you're editing your podcast, you probably want to have it in like an MP3 file. And once you export it for your hosting platforms, that's when you want to deliver it in something like an M4A or a WAV. For more information on that, look back on my previous episodes about file formats. I get into that a little bit more. Step 7. Your hosting platforms. A hosting platform is where their episode audio lives and where your feed gets updated. Podcast apps read that feed. So you're not sending the episode to every single app. You're publishing to the host, and the apps pull the update through the feed. This matters because it helps you troubleshoot calmly. If something isn't showing up somewhere, you understand the pipeline instead of panicking. Step 7. Hosting. Put the episode where podcasts actually live. This is more on the release side of things. A hosting platform is where your episode audio lives and where your feed gets updated. Podcast apps read that feed. You're not sending the episode to every app. You're publishing to the host, and the apps pull the update through the feed. This matters because it helps you troubleshoot calmly. If something isn't showing up somewhere, you now know where to go to figure out what's going wrong in the pipeline instead of panicking because your episode isn't popping up. Step 8. The SEOs. Make your episode findable in plain language. Now, a lot of people think this is difficult, but it's way easier than they make it out to be. Most discovery is text. Titles and descriptions tell search engines and humans what the episode is actually about. So instead of episode 21, you won't believe this, you make the topic obvious. What would someone type to try to find an episode about whatever it is that we won't believe in your episode? Those are the words you use. This isn't about trying to trick the algorithm or anything like that. It's about clarity. And finally, step 9, social promotion. Share a reason, not just a link. A link alone is asking the scroll to do too much work. People need a reason to click. The move is pull a slice from an episode, a moment, a question, a sharp idea. Then say what it's about in one clear sentence and who it's for. Your post should make sense even if the link disappears. The link is the door. The post is the sign that tells someone why they want to walk through that door. Let's get into some rules that you can apply so you can keep this from becoming tweak forever and post never. So when it comes to finishing, if the problem is occasional, use a precise tool. If the problem is constant, use a simple tool. Don't carve up your entire voice to fix one sharp moment. Just treat the moment. And on the release side of things, before you publish, make sure you can say your episode in one sentence. Not the vibe, not the feeling, the actual topic. If you can't describe it clearly, search engines and social media won't describe it clearly either. Tying up this method, your process should look a little something like this post-recording. Mixing your audio, a loudness check, exporting in the right format, uploading it to your hosting platform, a clear title and description, and finally, make sure when you're sharing your episode, You're sharing a reason, not just a link. Now, as we get to the end of this episode, let's do a little recap on everything that we've gone through. This episode was about finishing and releasing without guessing. On the audio side, you listen for what pulls attention away from the message. You're going to use your tools so that you can cure your audio, whether it be a consistent problem or those occasional moments, ensuring that your music isn't overpowering your speech and making sure that your loudness is consistent with your other episodes and is comparable to other podcasts that your fans may be listening to. On the release side of things, you upload to a hosting platform so your feed updates properly. You write titles and descriptions that match what people are actually going to be searching for. And finally, when you promote on social media, you don't just drop a link, you drop a reason why people should follow that link. Your audio is what people are here to experience, but your words are going to be how people find it. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Where's My Sock? If you haven't already, please follow the show and follow me on social medias if you got the time or if you're on it at Where's My Sock. Another thing, much like I was talking about in this episode, let me know what you guys think. I'm still posting because I see my stats, I see my analytics, I see you guys out there listening, and I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. I hope that this is actually helping you guys. If you have any questions or you want to see me do anything more with the show, please don't be afraid to leave a comment or even reach out through social media, send a message. Whatever it is, just let me know. I'm here, I talk, I don't bite. So, thank you again for listening, and I'll catch you guys next time on another episode of Where's My Sock?